Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122, and I want to welcome you all to episode 16 of the podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. And today we are going to be talking about Brevard's thrilling 3-1 victory in volleyball against the Hendersonville Bearcats. So, a little bit of backstory before we get into the analysis of this game. Coming into the game, the Blue Devils were 5-1, coming off of a major upset against previously unbeaten Patton over on the road in Morganton. Blue Devils won that one 3-2 by scoring winning three unanswered sets, which gave Brevard the win. And at this point, Brevard was super scary, because the day before that, they almost came back and beat North Henderson, but they sadly lost. That is our only loss of the season. And then we came back against Patton, and then this game happened, and yeah, it pretty much solidified how good we were, or how good we can be when given the situation. So Brevard was 3-0 coming into the game against Hendersonville. It was a home matchup. The student section was pumped in their red, white, and blue American themed. Yeah. In my own personal opinion, Brevard has one of the most amazing student sections in the freaking world. And believe me, and if you remember in the previous video that I did about this game, I mentioned that I spent the final plays of the final set in the student section, and I'm not lying. It was a great time. Now, for Hendersonville, they were also coming into the volleyball match 3-0 in conference play. This was basically, with a 4-2 overall record. So overall, they were a game behind the Blue Devils, but conference-wise, the two teams were tied. And this technically was the biggest tiebreaker in conference play, because at this point, Brevard, Hendersonville, and Polk County are the only three remaining undefeated teams left, coming into that game, of course. So this would put Brevard at a huge advantage in the conference, because they would own the tiebreaker against Hendersonville, which would put them up in conference standings. And of course, since Brevard and Polk County have not played yet, Brevard and Polk will square off on Tuesday. I will be at that game, and I will likely record some highlights. If Brevard does well, I will definitely record some highlights. Now, with that out of the way, Brevard and Hendersonville, this was a great game. A great game. The Blue Devil gym was pretty much fired up all game long. The atmosphere was just amazing. Yes, there were a lot of Hendersonville fans at the game, but, Brevard and Hendersonville, those two schools are very close to one another. And, a lot of fans from both sides, really. But there were way more Blue Devil fans at the game than there were Bearcats fans. And, facing Brevard in Brevard is a very scary situation, because you definitely don't want to encounter how passionate of a fan base that the Blue Devils have. It's a great time. Every time I see a game, it's just, I love it. Now, when it comes to the actual game itself, so in the first set, Brevard played decent. They were fine, but over the course throughout the set, Hendersonville started getting control, and they won the set 25-23. And but the second set was definitely the best moment of the entire game. Brevard won the second set 31-29, and that was because that no one wanted to win by more than 2 points, so it just kept going on and on and on and on. And, Brevard actually built a pretty big lead to start the second set, but Hendersonville came roaring back, and we started in a shootout. But there was one play that I think occurred in that set that was pretty much an MVP-like play. I will get to that when I mention the player of the game. Third set, it was another back-and-forth clash between Brevard and Hendersonville, and Brevard won that set 25-23. No shootout this time, so that was good. And then in set number 4, Brevard put up their most dominating performance, winning the set 25-19. And, the section was dope. The student section was dope. It was just crazy. And then, of course, I got to run with a big American flag at the very end of the game. And I'm not lying, that was a great, great time. I'm very thankful for the Brevard students for letting me do that. It's just, shout out to you, Brevard student sections out there. It's just very crazy, very fun, and I thank you very much. And, so with this win, the Blue Devils moved to 6-1 on the year, and they end this week of volleyball action. Now on Monday, Brevard will have an away game. They will take on the RS Central Hilltoppers, who are also up there in terms of state rankings and conference rankings, or at least state 2A rankings for that matter. RS Central is number 15 in North Carolina 2A West, and I believe they are third place in the Mountain Foothill 7 Conference with a record of 9-4, but they have a 1-2 conference record. So this is a potential win for Brevard, and I hope it is. I'm gonna say Brevard, but Brevard has proven time and time again that these sets can be very, very tough if they choose them to be that way. But I think Brevard will get the job done in Rutherfordton on Monday. I'm going to say Brevard wins, let's go with 3-1. 3-1 again. So far I've been perfect on predictions, so, there's that. Now, let's talk about the player of the game. The player of the game, in my opinion, has to go to Abby Pace. Has to go to Abby Pace. Simply because of this one play. So this was in the second set. I don't remember what the score was, unfortunately, but I think it was tied. But it was a very, very long possession. Very long possession. The two teams kept serving it up and down the net multiple times. And then there was one point where the ball almost hit the ground, and Abby Pace slipped, and the ball bounced off of her like this part of her foot. And the ball bounced in the air, and it was saved by one of our players, and Brevard ended up getting a point out of it. I was actually very scared when the ball touched her shoe because, as a volleyball noob, I might not know all these rules, but I would think that you weren't allowed to use your foot in volleyball. I mean, come on, it's obvious. But Pace clearly had the shot she was going for, but she slipped, and the ball hit her shoe, and thankfully our girls were Johnny on the spot, and we ended up getting a point, and I'm not lying, when I saw Abby Pace's reaction when we got a point, she went nuts. I mean, all you Brevard fans out there who watched the game on Thursday night, yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. It was by far the best play I have ever seen our girls do. And I think it was a play that happened on purpose, to be honest. I mean, on accident, to be honest. Like, it wasn't supposed to happen. But then again, I don't know what the original plan was. I think Abby had the clear shot, but she slipped, and it hit her foot by accident. It was such a great game. Such great play. And that is why I personally believe that Abby Pace should earn Player of the Week. No, Player of the Game for this one. And with that adds up to a thrilling 3-1 win for Brevard as they beat Hendersonville and they moved to 6-1, while the Bearcats dropped to 4-3. Now, football-wise, Brevard was supposed to host the Andrews Wildcats tonight, but COVID protocol situations forced the Wildcats to go into quarantine, and Brevard could not find anyone else to play tonight, so that game ended up getting canceled, and so that's why I'm shooting this video for you guys today. A lot of quarantine stuff happening, and of course, at these times it isn't really surprising. But I do look forward to watching the WLOS Friday Football Frenzy highlight reel tonight at 11:45 to see how other teams are doing here across the mountains. And personally, I think this is a really good bye week for Brevard, because if y'all remember from when I was talking about Irwin and Brevard allowed 7 sacks against Irwin. And I'm no football genius or anything, but I know that is absolutely horrible. And I think our offensive line needs a major practice unit. I mean, it's just something I suggest. I'm not saying that they should totally go for it, but from a fan's point of view, the offensive line has to work harder. We cannot allow that much sacks again. 12 sacks in the last 2 games. It's just, no. And when it comes to Joe Powell, his play is actually improving. He threw for over 210 yards against the Warriors, as stats just came in on Max Preps. I think they came in either today or yesterday or today, for that matter. And I looked at the stats and I gotta say, I was impressed. Powell had a really good game, except for those 2 fumbles he had in the game, which the last one was costly. Yeah, but other than that, he had a great game. Kyle Lovett, of course, 3 straight games where he caught over 100 yards, and in the game against Irwin, he even had an interception. So, if that doesn't tell me that Kyle Lovett is going to be a superstar this year, I don't know what is. But with that said, that concludes this edition of the podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Water 122 signing out, ready to dive in more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.